Hi.
Hey,
Welcome to the party, the Unqualified party.
excited to be here with you. Oh my goodness.
I mean, we couldn't have made it more obvious about our status of qualifications.
It's in like 40-point font. We are here. And if you check out Urban Dictionary, we are definitely unqualified.
Can we just talk about that for a second?
Oh my gosh.
That was such.
You need to go to Urban Dictionary, first of all.
Sup, Chris? Hey, Andrew.
Guys.
I don't know. I knew that I wanted to post the video, and I was like, I don't really know. I'm running out of copy ideas because I've literally been talking about qualified versus unqualified twice a day for a week. Okay, there are only so many things to say, and then I have to do it again next week, right? So I always think about all the things that people make fun of, like the Urban Dictionary. Webster's Dictionary describes blah 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 as. That's how you say it in my head. Anthony, my hat is correct. You're backwards. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that kind of as a joke. And then I thought, ooh, I wonder what the Urban Dictionary calls it. Because in our last conversation with on Snark Squad with Luke, where we were debating what snarky meant, we looked it up at Urban Dictionary. Anyway, I was like, I'm going to look it up. And when I saw it, I was like, surely that's not right. So I Googled it again, like Urban Dictionary qualified. And it came up again. And I was like, this isn't a thing. This is not really what it is. And it turns out it is. So I am really thankful that our little banner down here does not say we are qualified because, we're not.
That would be awkward. Yeah. But I learned to do so when I Googled Urban Dictionary, which that was such like a boomer thing to do because I could have just gone to urbandictionary.com, right? And I Googled Urban Dictionary instead. Yeah. But what came up immediately, I guess they have like a word of the day or whatever that it highlights when you Google Urban Dictionary. And the word of the day was clout demon. And it's somebody that becomes so obsessed and overtaken with clout chasing that they have a clout demon. And I was like, I can think of a couple individuals that might have a little clout demon. So
what an interesting I don't even know what to do. I'm just not sure. I feel like Urban Dictionary is one of those places you can get lost in, and I would probably learn some things that I didn't want to know, like the meaning of qualified.
Right.
To the Urban Dictionary.
And so somebody wants to know what it said. You're just going to have to look it up.
Yeah, you're on your own on that one. I'm not having that discussion here. The internet is forever. My children have access to this, okay? You're on your own.
All right, I need you guys to know that I'm for the first time. If you're like, Ariel seems off, this seems different. I have never in my life tried to reply to comments in LinkedIn land and do the live thing and look at the comments on the side. I'm feeling very fancy because I have my MacBook here in front of me so that it looks like I'm looking at you guys.
It's like a
I'm mentally feeling like, oh my gosh, I have 17 engines running right now. I'm very unqualified to be answering comments and trying to hang out on this live. So
yeah, Chris found it.
We have a couple ghosts. They are Rob V, the PMP MVP, and Jim, I always butcher his last name, Chukajian. So those are our LinkedIn users for this. I'm just going to call him the Chukester because that's easier for me to say. So hope that's okay.
I like it. I think it's perfect. But you know what? What I think, here's my theory. So like Jenny, yesterday, the day before, whatever, posted something about being qualified versus unqualified. And it really took off and everybody's debating it now in her comments and all those types of things. Here's my thing. All those people who come in and are like, I am qualified because of blah, 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 are like really like persistent of how qualified they are. I just see that in a whole new light now, thanks to Urban Dictionary. Like, yes, you are qualified. Sir. You are acting like qualified right now.
Well, and that's so. Have you seen? So I'm not going to say it, but Luke Manton, who's one of my favorite people to follow, his headline is "Big Tick Energy." He's got Tourette's. And so obviously that's a play on the other thing. And so we can totally have like qualified energy. We are highly
have big qualified. I guess we don't even need big qualified energy, just qualified energy. Because qualified's already, yeah, we got it. We got it.
Right.
I could not believe that was the answer to that. And it just took such a turn that I couldn't get over it. I mean, I closed my window and researched it inside of Urban Dictionary for certain that I found something inaccurate. But no. Mm-mm.
Oh,
so
goodness.
It's changed that forever for me. So that's fine. So now that we've established that we are for sure unqualified in many, many ways, urban and otherwise.
Right.
Let's talk about your level of unqualification.
Oh my gosh.
Eduardo, what's up? I missed you over there.
So much fun. Hey, Eduardo. See, I missed his comment because I was looking at too many places.
One job.
Just one job. So many jobs, though. It's really like I don't know. It's a lot. And it's late for me. Like it's almost 6 o'clock. And I have my signature live show sippy cup that makes Chelsea very uncomfortable. She was supposed to have a matching one to hang out with me, but she's not. So
I forgot it.
Chelsea answering comments, which she said she wasn't going to be able to do. So now I just don't even know.
Every once in a while you're talking, I jump over into my other window and I'm like,
I'm supposed to completely ignore everything you say and go answer comments. And then I can focus on what I'm saying.
What you need is a bit more ADHD, and then you will be 100% ready to go.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about how unqualified I am. So I am a college dropout. I'm a very proud college dropout. I don't know that I can even consider this like a shame thing, but I dropped out of college when I was 19 because I got pregnant and married in that order. And
in that order.
Right?
It's funny that you have to clarify. I feel like you have to clarify.
I don't want anybody to think I was responsible enough to get married at 19 and then wait to have children like you did. Like, because to me, honestly, you're the one, like, you getting married at 19 and not being pregnant at that time, I'm like, what the heck was she thinking? Who does that?
I mean, I graduated at 14. What else was I supposed to do? What the firecrackers was I supposed to do at that point?
So, anyway, I just feel like I need to clarify that I like forced myself into it. Nobody else forced me into it. I didn't. Anyway, pregnant, then married. And I decided to drop out of college and told myself I will go back when life is less busy. And so let's all have like a huge round of laughter right now for thinking that life is ever going to be less busy than when you're
trying to wait for the time where it's a good time to have children or it's a good time to start a business or it's a good time to,
Like, I just have no idea what my thought process was there. But anyway, So I don't have a degree, but I started selling cars and I was pretty good at that. And I got promoted and to a finance manager and made good money. And I remember thinking, like, as the finance manager, you're the one that pulls all the credit. You see the applications, you know how much money everybody makes. And I would be like, these people paid for law school and med school and I make more money than they do. And I was so snotty about it, like in my head, obviously, not live and in person to anybody.
Well, obviously.
But yeah, I had these thoughts in my head. But what I didn't realize is that I'm working 65 or 70 hours a week and they are, leaving at 3:00 on Friday to go play golf and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a long journey of like having highly successful monetary careers. And then I took a step back and started a new career that I can't talk about. And if you don't know me, check out my profile and that'll tell you what I do. But they were generous enough to consider me despite my unqualifiedness of not having a degree because of my career progression and life experience. And all that means is that I'm old enough that it really doesn't matter at this point. But and that's the thing, right? Like for my job that I do now, there was extensive testing and studying and very specific, highly targeted, which is what I think everything should be, right? Yeah. I feel like general college is just kind of like, nobody really needs that. It's life experience. It's great if you can afford it. But general education is just kind of, past high school, obviously, should not be mandatory to get a good job. But the kind of studying and tests and stuff I had to pass for my job was highly specialized, highly specific, lots of information, like drinking from a fire hose. And I still every day like have to Google stuff or call somebody in my region. Like
on a friend.
Totally unqualified every day, because it's you learn something new every day, and something comes up that you haven't faced before, or something that you did once 18 months ago and you can't remember. And and I'm big on like you learn by repetition. But in my business, like I'm really only striving to get like 5 clients a month, maybe.
Yeah.
And so unless all 5 of those clients have the exact same account types and the exact same needs, which very few people do, the account opening procedure is different. So it takes extra time to get used to the process, as opposed to if I could do it all day, every day, and do the same thing repetitively to figure out what I'm doing.
And I think like what you had said about, feeling unqualified, I think if I get too, and that's what happened in my previous role when I was directing. I was highly qualified in all the different ways, right? I've been doing it for forever. I had the degrees and the certifications and the continuing education, and I was training other directors to do the things, right? If you were looking for qualified, Urban Dictionary or otherwise, I was your person. But I was bored. Like I had done it. I was so qualified that I didn't feel like I was learning anything anymore. Yeah. And that's where, that's the part that I don't want to get to again, is getting to the point where you're so qualified that you feel like you stop learning.
Well, and that's why I think to be very clear, I got demoted in the car business. The car business is kind of a thankless place, and it doesn't matter what you do or how well you do it. There's always going to be somebody that can sell your people a bill of goods and say that they're going to do it better. So anyway, I got demoted. This was not free will. But towards the end of my life there, I was just so miserable. And I think that's why. Because I think I got to the point where I felt like I knew everything. I could do everything. It was super duper routine. And it was just boring. There was no growth to it. And that's what I love about what I do now, that every person is truly unique and special, in that even if the activities that I'm doing are the same, the individuals that I'm getting to deal with are different and exciting for me. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I think Robert said something like chemical engineering needs more than a few classes, but that's a very specific thing. And that's one of the things that's been kind of popping up on my comments inside of my posts, and then in Jenny's as well, because she's posted about this too, is, well, if you have someone going in to do surgery, don't you want that person to have qualifications? Okay. Yes. But the argument to that is also, I want them to have current qualifications. And so I think when we had this debate with Jenny and maybe Kevin too on Monday or Tuesday. What day is it? I don't even know.
Today is Thursday.
Was, if I went to school 30 years ago to be a teacher, I'm still technically qualified as long as I've kept up with my CEs to teach now. But 30 years ago, teaching strategies look different than they do now, hopefully. And so qualifications needs to be an ever evolving, beast of you're not once qualified, always qualified. I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up very Baptist, right? And it was this whole theory of once saved, always saved. Like all I have to do is say, I want Jesus to come into my heart. And then regardless of what happens after that, I'm good, So that's debatable. That's a different conversation. But I think it's the same thing for qualification, right? You can't just say, I took this test this one time, or I did this. And I think that's what happens with degrees, is they're like, I did this 50 years ago. I took this thing. I have this degree. I'm done. I'm qualified for life. And I disagree with the once qualified, always qualified statement. It needs to be an evolving thing.
Update. And it's so funny. I hadn't thought about this in a while, but somebody posted earlier today, Mushka was posting about what's the worst advice you've ever received. And when I was starting out in this career and starting out on LinkedIn, one of the veteran advisors in my circle said, oh, that's great, the whole LinkedIn thing, but I would caution you against using emojis on a professional platform. And, I sat on it for a minute, but I was like, respectfully, if emojis turn people off, there are probably 100 other things about my personality that
the emoji is the least of a concern.
Right. But that's a sign of the times, right? That person probably started 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe they still are in old LinkedIn where this is not Facebook land.
Did you see Amy's post? Was it Amy who did like a TikTok about LinkedIn?
Yes.
So funny.
It's hilarious. My LinkedIn comments are not like, I was trying to respond to Kim that posted, thanks for giving me confidence that new route means learning new things in a challenge. That is a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing. But I can't get it to come up on my LinkedIn screen.
Oh, boy.
This is too hard.
It is hard. It's hard. You need more ADHD to make this happen. Did you finish your sentence, or were we?
I think I finished it. Just
saying. You know, you just said, oh, you have to be emojis.
Everything is ever changing and ever evolving, and so you can't just say that you're qualified and you're done, because then you'll very quickly become unqualified. So that's right.
Yeah, and that's the conversation I had when I was directing. Like my staff was 75 teachers, and when I originally came into the school I was at, we were changing all kinds of things. To say the very least, we just took everything and burned it down and start over, which is kind of my MO. Personally, professionally, everything, just like burn it down, start over. It's fine.
Dismantle so that you can remantle.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You gotta take it apart so you can figure out what's in there, why it's there. And anyway, so we did that, and it was like, we're gonna learn all these new things. And immediately I had teachers start saying, cool, then I'm gonna know this. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna know all that, but I have like some bad news. There is no mountaintop. Like, there is never we have arrived, we are the top school with the top education and the top whatever, because new neuroscience, new child development research, new everything is coming out every darn day. So if we're not in some way keeping up with that, then we become stagnant. So it has to be dynamic, because the world is dynamic. So qualifications and evolution has to be dynamic, because if you reach a mountaintop, you're only on that mountaintop. You've reached the pinnacle for a good 0.52 seconds, and then you're just back down. Exactly. Somebody on the next pinnacle, and you're starting over.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts on so since you do like LinkedIn coaching, or what do you call it?
I do call it coaching, just for lack of not being able to. So I get the aversion to the word coach. But I mean, I guess I could have said strategy. Like I call my stuff strategy sessions, but I'll be honest with you, the word coach shows up like a bazillion times in LinkedIn search results.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I added, I have my regular title, but then as soon as I added not just another boring LinkedIn coach to my profile, I think last week I was found in like 22,000 searches in that section of your profile where it tells you like profile views and post views and searches.
Yeah.
There's around 22,000 right now, which is insane. Not all 22,000 of those people want to pay me right now. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. Just $1 a piece per month. That's all I need. Yeah. But anyway, so I went with the word coach, but I don't know that I was fully comfortable with that. But that is what I called myself.
I mean, I'm of the statement of like, you do you call you that or don't call you that. Like that's you. I like it. But I mean, so what is your, what's been your experience with, I mean, honestly, is there a LinkedIn coach certification course that even if you wanted to be qualified that you would take? Or are you just forever unqualified?
I think I'm forever unqualified. There probably aren't, but see, I bet there aren't because LinkedIn has a ton of these little mini courses that people take to get certification, whatever they're worth. But the LinkedIn doesn't like people who exist on LinkedIn to help people use LinkedIn. Like that's not their. They don't dig that.
Like they keep putting Leah in jail, or like.
I don't think that's the only reason, but that might have something to do with it. So I don't think there are any LinkedIn certifications that could certify you as a LinkedIn coach. But I'm very clear about like you get what you pay for. If you want my strategy, I will absolutely word vomit my strategy to you, but you're not leaving my Zoom with any resources or PDFs or, like you better take good notes. We can have a conversation. I do have a slideshow now. It's very fancy.
Ooh.
And a free membership.
There's a unicorn on it.
It is. There is unicorn. Yes. But so the slideshow was like the maximum brain bandwidth I was willing to apply to it. But the more expensive coaches, they have courses, they have PDF things that you leave with, and they're fantastic humans. And if you have the money, you should totally buy them. But that's why I'm so cheap. But the qualification thing, because I've been wrestling in my head right there. God, this sucks so bad because I can't say what I do for a living, but there are letters that could go on the end of my name that perception wise help people reach a certain comfort level. I think my business is designed that way. I think my comfort level with my clients is built on a more personal thing, not I noticed you have these letters behind your name. I don't think that that's where I'm coming from. But anyway, to even begin to take the courses, to take the test, to have the letters, you have to have a college degree.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I spend the time and the money to get this piece of paper that I don't need for my career so that I can go and take additional courses to get these letters? So qualification is an interesting conversation in my head. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I'm tempted right now because my community college in town is offering free tuition for everybody. For no reason. It's bananas. Yeah.
For the come to your town? Like
21-22 school year. I have a spare bedroom. Like you are totally welcome.
Perfect.
But you'd still have to buy books. I'm sure there are other costs associated with it. It's just free tuition. It's not free ride. We pay for everything. So
yeah. I mean, qualifications is always interesting. Because we've already talked about how it's always evolving. And then who qualifies the qualifier, right? I mean, I could jump up and say, I will qualify you to be a LinkedIn coach. Who's qualified me to qualify you? Did I just create a website and now you pay me $3,000 and I will give you the little badge that goes on there to be, a LinkedIn coach? I don't really know. But I think what you talked about there is you could have, I have two things. Thing number one, I was doing a training yesterday. And in person, like 3D people.
What?
I know. I wore heels. I stood on a stage. There was a microphone and everything. It was crazy. Okay. But I kept saying that I recently learned IMO means in my opinion.
You didn't know that?
I'm like, I don't know. People kept putting it in their things. And I was thinking, is it like these letters? Like, this is what they do. Like, I am Chelsea Robertson, IMO. Like, I don't know what that means. Is it a doctor of something? Tell me, like, I don't know. You went to college, you have more qualifications than I do. Turns out it's not a qualification. However, I do feel like I should put it after my name, like Chelsea Robertson, IMO. And then just let people.
Anybody, like, everybody just take for granted it's a real thing. Well, and that's the thing. I didn't know when I joined LinkedIn, I didn't know what SAS was. And like a dummy, like you could have with IMO, you could have Googled, right? If you'd cared enough to find out, you could have have all the resources in the world at our fingertips. We just don't do much. But so I need to share the fact that the reason I was confused about the delay on the comments is apparently the comments that aren't loading on my LinkedIn screen are coming in Twitch. So that's what.
Oh boy.
I was struggling there. So Enrique, I'd be happy to share my tips with you for the low price right now of $37. I was like, why is he not there so I can reply to him?
I mean, it's fine. We are talking about how we're unqualified. So
right. I feel like this is a perfect example of how unqualified I am to be on a LinkedIn Live. So cheers.
Okay, so what I was saying was I feel like I should put IMO after my name because essentially
it's correct.
Everything I say, okay, there's a bit. When you get me talking about education, I will throw some facts in there, but for the most part, what you get from me is in my opinion. So I feel like I could be Chelsea Robertson, IMO, and I would be accurately represented.
I love Juliana Jackson posts.
She's awesome. I love her.
She is phenomenal. I'm sure she's not watching because it's like middle of the night
yeah,
over there.
Yeah.
But she posted one time, people say IMHO, which is in my humble opinion, if you're wanting to be humble.
Oh, I thought it was in my honest opinion.
It could be honest or humble, right? God, I've got this giant zit right here. Y'all see that? There's one here and one here.
Nobody can see it. Actually, you're like this big on my screen.
Bothering me so bad. Okay. But so anyway, Juliana always puts IMAO for in my arrogant opinion, which is why I assumed that it was humble because you're like arrogant is the opposite of humble. I don't know.
Yeah. I can see that. I always thought it was honest. I mean, I don't know why. If you're going to give an opinion, it might as well be an honest one. I don't know why you need to clarify that.
Right.
But, that's just me.
It's telling us one of our streams is having connection issues. Is that me? I feel like we're still streaming.
I feel like we're fine. I feel like it's fine.
Okay.
Before I got distracted with the IMO thing, I was going to say something really valuable. And then I didn't.
That's why we're not qualified.
Okay. So let's talk about, you are qualified to do the thing that shall not be named, right? You are qualified to do that technically.
I mean, technically, I have tests that I've passed and stuff like that, but I'm telling you every day I feel unqualified. That's the vibe.
Which is good though. I mean, but that's good to feel unqualified because I feel like then you never get in that place where you're like, I know everything and I can do this. But in your coaching thing, we've assumed now that you will forever be unqualified. There is no qualifying body that will allow you to be a qualified LinkedIn coach or whatever because there's no certification course. So what gave you the audacity to take on this role that you are not qualified for?
Honestly, I think it probably is very similar to what gave you the audacity. And it would be support from your 3 friends. And I'm lucky enough. I have a few more than 3.
2 free and 1 paid friend.
Right. I don't actually, no, I take that back. So Leah Turner is one of my favorite humans in the planet, and I consider her a great friend, but I have totally paid her because she's worth it. So I own her content prompts and I'm attending her webinar on July 7th. So plug for Leah Turner.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I pay her to be my friend, but I definitely toss money at her occasionally. But anyway, so the thing about it is I did have these friends that were much bigger deals than I am on LinkedIn, like Leah, who started in a very similar way that I did. And she's like, you just got to do it. You just got to have the confidence to do it. Mm-hmm. And so Joel Lalji, Andy Foote, Liam Darmody, we had a Clubhouse crew for a little while, which we've fallen off the planet because Clubhouse got exhausting, frankly, and we all got really busy. But all of them encouraged me and supported me and made me feel like, even as a small fry, that I knew enough about what I was talking about to share that information with other people. Yeah. And the thing that in my head, Enrique, the thing that in my head makes me feel qualified is the fact that I'm not so, and that's what I love about you and what you're doing is because you've lived it you've experienced it from somebody else, you've benefited from it, and now here you are wanting to pass that gift to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
This LinkedIn coaching thing for me, I sustain a very what's the word? A very successful full-time day job business through my LinkedIn activities with no cold calls, no outbound outreach pitching or anything like that. So I do all of that with this strategy that I'm trying to teach other people. Mm-hmm. So that's what I feel like makes me qualified. The fact that I practice what I preach and I get the results that I'm telling people that they should be able to get if they listen to me.
Yeah.
The reason why I quit giving people the advice for free is because people don't value free advice. And so I did it for a long time, and it's like, okay, well, nobody's implementing these things that, like, I took an hour of my time to have a powwow about this, and nobody's implementing any changes. So I might as well at least make it worth my while. If they want to pay me $157 for an hour and then still let their profile and activity sit on suck, then that's fine.
Sit on suck.
Oh my gosh. So many people. But anyway, not Rob, the PMP MVP, because he like embraced my strategy and took it and run with it. He's my little protege. But
I have not done any of your courses. Like, would you judge my profile? Like, are you secretly looking at my stuff and thinking she needs to get off of suck?
Can I tell you a secret? I don't look at anybody's profile. I don't even look at people's profiles that send me friend requests. I literally judge them by their picture and their name and their headline.
You learned nothing. Have you learned nothing?
Well, if they're going to be creepy, then they're creepy really quickly, and I can just like it's not a big deal. But I'm a terrible profile looker. But I think it's because I don't do any outbound. Like, the only reason people look at profiles is if they want to send highly specific outbound outreach. Like, oh, I noticed that you
I think that's creepy. You're just pulling off of my profile. I know you don't know me. You just read a sentence.
Right. So that's that. I just don't look at it that often. I don't know. But I will look at your profile and judge you later.
Perfect. Feel free to let me know if I need to not sit on suck or if I am sitting on suck. Like, I feel like these are things. Although
I feel like you have a freaking sponsor for your live show. I feel like you're a bigger deal than I am. So we probably just need.
I don't even know how that happened.
So qualified.
In
the Webster's Dictionary way.
Yes, let's clarify. We are Webster Dictionary qualified, not the other dictionary qualified. Hey, Laura, what's up? Michael says he's playing the long game.
and long is subjective. I always joke that, like, it's about total time served. So if you're a regular human that spends like 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, then it will probably take you a year or two to build up any kind of significant traction.
Right.
You're a loser with no life like me that spends 27 hours a day on LinkedIn, then it happens quicker. But
true.
It's all about time served. The effort you put into it is what you get back out of it. 100%. Why are we talking about your grandpa? I'm confused.
I believe because we were talking about my thing was like, I make your life suck less. So we were discussing having a vacuum cleaner emoji. Maybe that's what he's talking about, but there is no vacuum cleaner emoji, so that's highly unfortunate.
Weird. It is.
There is a vampire, which is a little more creepy. Like, I don't know which way to go with that, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I think so. What you were saying, you were talking about how you are qualified theoretically to do this LinkedIn coaching thing, right? Because you've walked through it and you're currently still doing it, and your LinkedIn is evolving as LinkedIn evolves, and all those types of things. And when I went to college, after I'd already been in my chosen profession for 9 years, and then they're like, shouldn't you be degreed for this? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing it for 9 years.
I'm already here, man. I don't know. You tell me.
You tell me. Like, it's fine. But I had to go back because we were getting our accreditation for the school. And in order for us to be accredited, I had to have a degree, even though I had already been running it's fine. I'm not bitter about it. It's not like they put me into debt to do this thing for this piece of paper for a job that I was already doing, but that's, a different show.
And that's a unique thing about you and what you were doing. Because most people do have to go into debt for that piece of paper, but that is a different show. So
yeah, different show. So, but when I had to go back to college, the cool thing about I went to Concordia University, St. Paul. And what I really liked about that was because my professors, like the person who taught my brain research class for child development was an active brain researcher. Like the person who taught early childhood cultural strategies was working in that field actively at the time. And that was one thing that I looked for when I was looking for colleges, was like that dynamic qualification. Not I was a brain researcher 20 years ago and now I'm teaching a stagnant course on it. I think there's a difference. And so I think for you, like with this coaching thing that you're doing, like you're currently doing it right now for yourself. And then you're taking what you learn and pass it on to other people, who are my favorite people. Like I love the people who are doing it right now and functioning in a manner where like, hey, let me teach you what I'm learning right now, not like, hey, let me teach you all these things that I know because I'm brilliant. I think that's two very different.
You would be amazed at the messages I got. I posted earlier this week, and this is kind of an icky topic. Like I try not to post from a negative perspective.
Yeah.
But I posted earlier in the week about tagging and the appropriate ways to tag people and the inappropriate ways to tag people. And I got so many messages from people that were like, well, so-and-so told me that I should be tagging to increase like there are legit experts out there telling people to do these icky ways of things on LinkedIn that can't be enjoyable. Like maybe it works, but it's got to suck. You're not building community. I was trained by 2 different LinkedIn experts. I didn't pay for them. I'm going to be a hyper researcher if I'm paying a coach. Like I'm going to be absolute sure you're walking the walk and talking the talk before you get my dollars. But my company and our product partners paid 2 different, one was a personal branding expert and one was a LinkedIn expert. And the LinkedIn expert's advice was cold searches in your geographical area and click the connect button 50 to 100 times a day, and then send a templated message talking about who you are and asking for a quick 15-minute Zoom call. Like, sorry, guys, that's why you get those messages 10 times a week from people who do what I do. Because there are experts out there being paid big money that are unqualified AF teaching people to do it that way.
Yeah.
The personal branding expert pulling up slides with the Apple logo. Like, do you know who this is? That's branding. Like, not applicable. Sorry. That has nothing to do with anything. Like, this is the most ridiculous conversation I've ever had. So, anyway, literally, like, during that presentation, I've got split screen with LinkedIn and I'm looking at that person's profile and I'm like, what is going on here? Anyway.
Yeah, like I have a hard time with that. And and there's a plus and minus to not having a route to certification, because then anybody can say that they do it. And I think where I've landed in a lot of these conversations is, wow, I can't keep up with the comments, y'all.
Don't slow down. Like, we like it. Keep them
I know, right? Yeah, keep going. I'm just like,
I was on Nathan's live last night and I looked and I was like, there's only 97 comments here. Am I a loser? Like, is this what is that me?
Yes, it definitely is. But like the thing that qualifies or unqualifies someone, I think is like you're making that choice. Like, right? Like I chose to work with you, and
you're responsible for doing the research for where you spend your money.
I choose to work with you in the business that shall not be named because I did the research and chose to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it's not all about like the certifications that someone has or whatever. It's about if you trust that person with whatever it is that you're asking them to do with you, and you engaging in that research to do that. And I think you essentially are the qualifier for who you want to work with, not them like proving that they are qualified with their list of certifications. I think it really does fall on the consumer to qualify the person that they're going to work with as
There's
much as
so many, and and I don't know how one would achieve this kind of like smoke and mirror show in the life coaching sector. If not that that's what you want to call it, but in like the unsucking your life,
yeah.
I don't know how they get those kind of, but in LinkedIn coaching, like I think a lot of people new to LinkedIn don't really know that pods are a thing. And so somebody looking at somebody's activity can be like, oh, wow, they get so many likes. That's great. And not know that, like, yeah, if you scroll past those first 10 comments, they all say great post or totally agree or whatever. So there's surface, like you've got to dig below the surface level. And I don't know what the equivalent of that is for somebody that you're trusting to coach you through remantling your life. But I love that word. I'm obsessed with that.
And I think it's, as you look into them as much as you can, but it's really hard because I like to be as transparent as possible in my social media. Like you'll see me showing up in my t-shirt and my backwards hat or like whatever I end up saying on my lives, like because that's who I am. And if someone's going to come and hang out with me, either in my educational stuff or in my coaching stuff, like I want it to be because they know who I am and not like present a fake version of myself and then they get in a meeting with me and they're like, whoa.
Exactly.
Who is this human? I want them to know, but I was in a conversation with a bunch of other educators and the goal was to increase the presence of like educators on LinkedIn, which is a great goal. And so they had some people who have good LinkedIn presences good LinkedIn presence, come on and talk about like how to increase your LinkedIn, just like a short, like 5-minute thing. And they were pushing pods. And I'm sitting there thinking like, you don't know what you don't know. Like you only know what the coaches are telling you, what the experts are telling you. And if you never dig into it for yourself, you take that as truth. And I gave him a hard time about it later. Like, I cannot believe I just sat in this thing and listened to you guys tell them to sign up for a pod, y'all. Like, what are we doing? But in reality, like, I think you don't know what you don't know. I think that's why being qualified is never a mountaintop, because you'd always be figuring out, well, that didn't work, or that was a terrible choice. Right. Let's figure out the next one.
Well, and I think you come into, especially LinkedIn land, like just a little bit naive. I didn't know pods were a thing until people started, like until I started getting traction and people would message me like, oh my gosh, what pod are you a part of? And I'm like, excuse me? And then they explained it and I was like, oh, wow, no. That's not, but I got sucked into, like, I sat through a webinar very similar. I don't know if it's the same thing that you were talking about, but some people from a company that I respected for their LinkedIn activity and just was always super impressed with their approach. And the webinar was touted as LinkedIn, like strategies and advice. And it wound up being like, pay us $1,000 and then you'll have access to this Slack group. And we all post our posts in there. And then we comment on them like, oh my God, this is like it was terrible.
If nothing else, like, I want to know if my content resonates with you or not. Like,
that's been my point from the very beginning. Like, what purpose does that serve?
Yeah. Like, what are you
that are not the right eyeballs serve no purpose. So if it doesn't link with your audience, then who even cares? Yeah.
It doesn't even matter if it gets 10,000 likes. If none of them convert into, a client or a customer, like, what's the darn point? I don't understand. I don't understand that. And that's one of my annoying things with all of that.
And that's like Laura in the comments is saying first time hearing pods. So I don't know if she's newish to LinkedIn or just relatively innocent in that way. But Eduardo, like, buying friends is exactly, that's honestly, my follower count this week has exploded oddly. Like, I usually get like 25 to 50 people a day. And I've gotten 100 new followers every day this week. And I'm like, where are all these people coming from? Is somebody throwing like bots at me? Because none of them are American. I'm like, where is this coming from?
Where is it coming from? What are you doing back there?
I don't know. Somebody bought Friends for me as a joke, I bet. Although I am sipping on the wine. I don't like this sippy cup is good because it doesn't spill, but it doesn't like flow out freely. It makes me sad. But that's okay.
That's fine.
You also know that I was halfway through this live before I realized the new comment showed at the top, not the bottom on Restream. Because on StreamYard, it goes, like
It
over
show up on the bottom.
On the right-hand side is the newer comments. The right-hand side of the screen at the top is the new comments.
I don't know what you're looking at. You're a whole different world.
I'm literally about to take a picture right now. I'll text it to you later. But mine are.
Why don't you just take a screenshot on your computer?
Because I can't even reach that keyboard because I have my MacBook.
You're so qualified.
Because I'm so unqualified. But I'm just saying that mine go from like the new ones pop in at the top, which probably makes sense, but it's not that way normally for me.
I don't know. Mine show up at the bottom. That's a whole different struggle bus.
Different struggle.
That's a different issue. Okay, so I want to go back to the conversation about like being qualified from experience and then continuing to qualify yourself. So my favorite people to follow, like one of my favorite humans that I would die if I met in real life, and I was talking to you about this earlier, is Glennon Doyle. And she made a huge life change based on some things that happened. If you have not read Untamed by Glennon Doyle, like you have to read it. I'm pretty sure it's written for women, but I don't care. Just read it. Jennifer Brick sent it to me, and that was the beginning of my problems. Okay, so just read the book. It's fine. She also sent me a stuffed llama. So I believe that box contained like a stuffed llama, Untamed, some chocolate, and I can't remember, but it was a lovely box of goodies. Anyway, so read that book. Such a good book. But I love her because she's writing from a place of, here's what I learned from that experience, and here's how I'm continuing to, like, she talks about anxiety and those types of things, and she's doing it from a place of still experiencing it. And even right now, like in her Instagram and things like that, she'll talk about, yesterday I was sad for no reason, but today I'm happy for no reason. That's why you gotta, keep going or whatever. And those are my people, not the people that have arrived and then, teach from that place of arrival and then go back. And so for me, like, as I'm kind of embarking on this, helping other people's lives suck less / coaching situation that I've found myself in, like I'm doing it from that place of being, unqualified, because I don't know that I want to be qualified. The whole reason that I really got into it was kind of twofold, right? The coach that I worked with over the past 8 months or so, right? I can literally say that her being a part of my life saved my life several times. And I owe a lot to her. Okay. But at the same time, that's what I want to kind of put out there for whoever is in that same place that I was, because it's not about saying, I have read somewhere it was like you just need that person who's 1 or 2 chapters ahead of you. Like, I don't need someone who has it all figured out. I just want someone who's just a couple chapters ahead. And so when I first started talking about this, for me, it was like, I don't know what the light at the end of your tunnel looks like. I don't even know where your tunnel is. And I don't know what do we have to go through to get there, but I just want to hold your hand and walk with you to find it. Like, we'll find that light together, whatever that light is. Not, I know what the light is, I know where to find it, let me show you. It's like, let me stand with you and we'll figure it out together. That's what I had, and that's what I want to do. And I want to do that from a place of, I'm unqualified because I'm just 1 chapter ahead of you. Instead of, I'm so qualified, let me show you the answer, because I don't have it.
And I think, like, just human nature, you're so much more likely to absorb. That's almost like a friend level relationship.
Yeah.
where you can say, like, I can identify with what you're going through. I've been there. I've made it through, but I'm not so far. I mean, that's with LinkedIn coaching. That's like me. I'm not going to look at somebody with 1 million followers that's been on LinkedIn for 10 years and try to latch onto them as a mentor.
Yeah.
They're so far ahead of me. That's intimidating. I don't want to talk to you. We're not even on the same planet.
Yeah.
But I think that if it's somebody that I can identify with that's been at this for a year, they've been where I am, they are where I want to go, that was a bad example because I don't even really want to make anything big out of this LinkedIn coaching. But I think that that's huge. And I try to share pretty often, like for my day job, how much of a train wreck that I was in my early 20s. Like, it's huge for people to know that the people that they're trusting to help them grow, whether it's helping them grow in their life or helping them grow with the thing that I do for a living, to know, right? the job that shall not be named.
Yeah.
To know that there's no judgment. Like, there's I'm not going to ever look at somebody and be like, oh my God. Ugh. You know, there's identification and a bond there and a genuine, I care for where you're at because I've been there, and here are the steps that I took to not be there any longer. And I want to hold your hand and walk you through them as somebody who cares about you, not somebody who's just telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's
and I think that I agree. I mean, you know, and the relatability concept is a big thing for me, right? Because even when I was looking for a coach, and I kind of stumbled into finding a coach because I already had, you know, a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever, you know, those types of things are. So I was like, I don't really need a coach. But then it was recommended to me, and then I stumbled onto it or whatever. But when I decided on the one that I went with her because I felt like I related to her. It wasn't because she had 20 different reasons why she was a great coach in her certifications and qualifications or whatever. I felt like we could be on the same level, because what I don't like is, you know, when you're sitting in a space with someone who's obviously way more qualified and way ahead of the life in you, and like you were talking about, it's kind of intimidating, like, and you know, and you don't really want to bear like your stuff to that.
No, you didn't.
You don't want to bear your stuff to that person, you know? And so I don't know. I think there's something about kind of humanizing the process of all of it and just being human to human instead of professional to client. Like, I think there's something to be said for that. I don't know.
And that's why I like, you know, maybe the word coach is icky, but I like it for what you're doing because, you know, you have relationships with a therapist or psychologist, psychiatrist or whatever, but it's not a relationship-based business. You don't use that person based on your vibe with them or the fact, you know, a coach is literally that person to hold your hand. And it's essentially, like, you know, if you have, I don't know, because having friends in your life is important too, but the friends are always going to be sort of biased towards you. Yeah. And, you know, anything you say or do to a friend is going to be, I'm excited for you. You're amazing. I support you. You know, I was joking with some friends the other day that, like, they send that message that's like, can I be snarky for a second? And they were about to talk about, you know, and I'm like, absolutely. But be prepared that once you do it, I'm like your mama, like, if it's something that I agree with, I'm going to completely write it off. So, and that's the thing, that the problem with confiding in somebody like a friend, if you bare your whole soul, they might not be 100% honest. And I think that what you're looking to do will be that true voice of reason. And I don't know how to say it now. I've had too much wine. I need some food.
You know, and so to kind of add on to that, like in my education conversations that I'm always having, like, we talk about co-constructivism. It's not about, as an educator, standing in front of the student and telling them this is exactly what you need to do, why you need to do it, and what it needs to look like when you're done. And I think it's the same thing with coaching. Like if you're looking for a coach, regardless of whatever that space is, business coaching or relationship or LinkedIn or whatever, you're not necessarily looking for someone to show you exactly what the answer is, because they don't know. The future of your life is that we don't know the future of your life, right? So you're looking for that person who will come alongside you and help you find what your next step is, not what they think their next step is. And like setting someone who's able to kind of set aside their ego. And that's what I experienced with my coach. Is she's always asking me questions, and it was like this judgment-free zone, which was a beautiful thing. And then she would
Nice to have.
Right, it's nice when you find it. And it's like, how does that make you feel? What do you feel like your next step would be? And just those types of things are helping me reframe an experience, or ask the right questions, and tools that I was then able to use later with myself when I found myself in those different places. And I don't know, I think it's just such a unique relationship that people don't understand, because I didn't understand it before I had a coach. Like, I honestly saw very little value in it. I probably would have been on the side of, I have a therapist, why do I need a coach?
What's interesting to me is you don't hesitate at all to call this life-saving human a coach. It doesn't bother you at all, but you don't want to apply that title to yourself. What's up with that?
I just don't understand. Can you tell me, Coach Ariel, like, what is it? Let's dig down into that for a second.
What's funny, because we've talked about your coach for months. We've had this conversation, and I've watched you be hesitant to call yourself a coach. And it just like light bulbed for me, like, wait a second, she freaking adores her coach.
I do.
And she always refers to her as her coach.
I know.
So what's so icky about the word coach?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem with the word coach. I think it's like my perception of other people's perception of the word coach.
But really, like, F other people's perception.
That's true. That's kind of my life motto
right now. Yeah.
All that.
Other people's perceptions have absolutely no business influencing anything that Chelsea Robertson does.
That's true. I mean, that's what I've been preaching and living as I've been burning down like every aspect of my life. I don't know. I mean, it was the same. I had the same conversation with my paid friend when I first started kind of telling my paid friend that I was like, I think I kind of want to coach, but I'm not qualified for that. And his question was, what have you done so far in your life that you were qualified for? And I was like,
oh, I love that. What did
nobody asked you for your stupid fact-based questions, sir. And I was like, because the answer is none. And you knew that. That was a rhetorical question.
Right. It was a magical question, though. Like, like you said earlier, when I said that I got pregnant and then married and said that I would go back to college when life was less busy, that's like saying when you're ready to have kids. I mean, you just are never ready. Just do it. If it's something you feel called to do, just do it. And it'll work.
And I did. And once I had that conversation with him, and then I was messaging a friend, and I was like, I just want to do this. Like, I just want to jump off the cliff. And she was like, then jump off the cliff. When have you ever not jumped off a cliff? I was like, literally never. I always jump off the cliff. But for whatever reason, this thing, I couldn't just do it. I couldn't I was really hitting up against this qualified versus unqualified thing. And that's why I made this whole series, is because I was personally hitting up against it. And I was like, I know if I'm hitting up against it for myself, other people are hitting up against it for themselves, either in choosing their coaches or pursuing a passion or a dream or something, right? Like,
and
it has to be a thing.
I'm a big believer, and we are like cracking up on an hour, so I don't know if you have other stuff to do, but I'm a huge believer. Imposter syndrome is a big topic that people talk about. Sure. Yeah. And so I'm a big believer in that anybody that's a high achieving individual, somebody that expects the best and always wants more and is always shooting for growth, we're always going to have imposter syndrome. Because we're always doing the things that are slightly outside our comfort zone just a little bit further reach than what we think we should be doing, because we have the faith in ourselves, because we're high achieving individuals. So we've accomplished big things, but we've never done this big thing before. So it becomes scary, but we always feel like, oh, I'm not qualified for this. The only people in the universe that feel like they are qualified or don't have imposter syndrome are the people who are not doing big things, who are not doing anything outside their comfort zone, anything outside their growth mode. It is 100%. I feel like everybody feels that way.
I agree.
If you're in the comments and you don't feel it, then push yourself. Do better.
Yeah.
That's.
I think that's so true, because like we had already talked about, we had, as soon as I started to feel qualified, like I was bored. I wanted to do something else. And 100%. I am 100% always pushing myself past my area of comfort for two reasons. One, because I bore easy. And secondly, because I have this terrible fear of being lazy. So I'm always like, I got to do something else because this is too easy or whatever. But I think, it's two-sided, right? If I don't do the thing, then I feel lazy or like I'm not doing enough. If I do the thing, then I'm over here thinking, why am I doing this thing? I have no business doing this. There's no middle ground. It's one or the other. And I think, like Laura asked, what qualities make you capable? That's an interesting question. What do you think, Ariel?
I think it's a proven history of having achieved the things that you set your mind to. I have always said, and this sounds like egotistical or whatever, but when I started a new career, again, I left a very high paying, very successful career. But I never for 1 second, even though I have imposter syndrome every day, I feel like I'm unqualified and I don't know what I'm doing. But every single day I have the belief that I'm going to be successful because I've always been successful. Anything I have ever tried to do, I have accomplished over and above what I have meant to do. And I feel like that sort of track record, that life experience, that's like, I can literally do anything I put my mind to. And I believe that with everything in me, to a certain, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not trying to be president or fly, but, within a reasonable amount, I believe that I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. That I'm willing to work for. And that's the other part of it. You have to be willing to put in the effort. And I don't think, Nathan and I talked about this last night. Like, yes, I'm a college dropout. Yes, I've made a 6-figure salary for the last 12 years of my life. But he said that, he goes, you worked your tail off. And he was like, I just don't think most people are willing to work that hard. And that may be true. So that was a long answer. Sorry.
No, and I like what April said too about
answered it in 5 words.
Capable equals doing the thing. I think that's true, because there's that kind of cliche thing of like, you only fail when you give up, right? And I think that's true, because my experience has been very similar to yours, right? Like, without sounding whatever, like everything, I mean, it feels that way to say it, but like everything that I've ever put my hand to has been successful until I decided to not do it anymore, right? And I don't think that's because, like, I had a cake business. It wasn't because I was the best cake baker in the world, right? I've done the school thing. I've done the educational consulting. I'm now doing the coaching thing. Like, it's not because I'm the most amazing person at these things why I was successful. It's 2 things. One, YouTube teaches you all kinds of wonderful things, okay? And so 2 is you only fail when you give up, right? So there was a failure, success, failure, success, failure, success, in waves, and all of these different things. And I think one thing about being capable, the ability to overcome or persist in spite of, like, that resilience inside of it. Like, today sucked, and I felt like I couldn't do a darn thing, and I failed at these 200 things, but I'm going to do it again tomorrow, and I'm going to do it until I feel personally successful at it. I think that's a big part of it, is the mindset that you go into it with.
100%. And that, I was actually leaving a comment earlier today, and I can't even remember who it was, but it was something about entrepreneurs. And I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't own my business. Chelsea is. But the way that my business is set up is very similar to an entrepreneurial style. And there's so many highs and lows. And it's so like, I'll do the same activities every day, day after day, and day after day, get nothing.
Yeah.
But then there will be 2 or 3 big wins back to back. And so it's just, it's those wins that keep me saying like, okay, all those activities that I did for the last 2 weeks so that I felt like we're accomplishing nothing. That was what it took. Yeah. And I just have to keep reminding myself that just doing the activities is what gets you there.
Yeah. And you have to be in a mindset. I mean, you have to be in that space to know not every single task is going to be a revenue generating activity at the moment. Like it may not be revenue generating until, 2 weeks later. And so I think being slow to label something as a success or a failure could also be one of those qualities, like slow to label the action or the result as positive or negative, because you just don't know what's going to come from that. But I don't know. I love this topic because I could just rant on it all day. I do. I rant on it in education all the time, in burning that down. And I wasn't qualified for my role. You weren't qualified for yours. Like I dropped out of high school and finished it myself. You dropped out of college. Like, why not?
Right. What's it wrong?
Break stigma, do what you're going to do, pursue whatever it is you got brewing in the back of your head. Like, do it. That's kind of where I hope that some people are resonating with this, like drop the, but I'm not qualified thing and like jump on it and just.
I think take April's thing and like screenshot it. Capable equals doing the thing.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole conversation that needs to be had. We just talked for an hour and 10 minutes, but that was the only thing that needed to be said. Like practice what you preach, walk the walk, talk the talk. Don't be a coach that just sells people a good bill of goods and tells them what they want to hear, but every day, and then you're good. Yeah. That's the secret.
Yeah. So capable equals doing the thing. I like it. So Thank you, April, for wrapping our show up for us. I don't know why we're up here and you're over there. I feel like we've all made some choices, and she obviously should have been here and missed that one. But I will be slow to label this a success or a failure because I've learned that from this live. So Michael.
Michael.
Just finishing. Fine. That's fine. You're here. We love you anyway.
Next in the mail.
So, yeah. April in the mail somewhere. Ariel's going to handle that the same exact way that she handled sending me my favorite live host. Live host? No, live host. My favorite live host.
I did send it, right? You have it now.
If I said no, would you remember?
Do what?
If I said no, you didn't send it, would you be concerned that maybe you hadn't?
I'm pretty sure I sent it. I'm pretty sure I sent it with your new client soap.
That soap was amazing. So if you don't hang out with April for what she does, if you don't hang out with Ariel for the thing that she does that we don't discuss, you should do it for the soap. Okay. That right there was amazing soap. So there's your plug for Ariel. Okay. And next week we are continuing this conversation. So if you could comment on some of my posts, because I'm running out of copy to talk about qualified versus unqualified. April specifically, you've done a wonderful job. If you could give me some more content, that would be super. So next week, Joshua Cruz, if you don't hang out with him on LinkedIn already, you need to find him. He's really amazing. Joshua Cruz and John Tesser and Rob Gilbert are all going to do these types of things with me. So I'm super excited to kind of continue this conversation. April, do you make soap? No, she just buys soap and then sends soap.
Yes. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk tomorrow.
Oh, and April, I feel alive with the three of us coming up. You wouldn't even need us. Just April, take it on, and we'll cheer for you in the background.
Yes.
So, all right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Go do things that you're not qualified for, because what is life without a little mystery? And I will see you guys next week, hopefully. Don't leave me. Just do it again with me next week, y'all.
Yay!
Bye.